What is up, full-time family? We're about to break down UFC 226, the main card, and a few more fights as well. A lot of the fights that stood out. And we're going to talk about a lot of the aftermath of what's went on. We've got Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Cormier to talk about. Jon Jones has reacted, and just a lot of stuff going on in the MMA world. So welcome to Full-Time MMA Live. We'll probably be live for about an hour, hour and a half today. I've been at work, 10-hour shift today because it's summertime, but it's all good. Ready to break down this card. So let's jump straight into it. We're not going to start off on the main event. We'll save the best for last because that was absolutely insane. But we had Lando Venata and Curtis Millender. Curtis Millender came out. I guess we'll start there real quick. He got a decision win over Max Griffin. Didn't look amazing in the fight, but still remained undefeated in the UFC. Curtis Millender did. Lando Venata, a guy who was coming off of 4 performance bonuses in the row in the UFC. Very exciting fighter. Had that moment versus Tony Ferguson where he had Tony Ferguson in trouble. That, of course, always stands out. But since then, he's also put on a lot more entertaining fights. So I was, looking forward to Lando Venata's performance against Drakkar Klose. He came in and lost a unanimous decision. So, Drakkar Klose got that W there. Then we had an actual somewhat, I don't want to call it a title eliminator, but there was title implications in this fight. It says, you're taking everything I work for, motherfucker. Jon No Bones Jones. Someone says, I see. What's up, full-time family? But there were some title implications in this fight with Rafael Assunção and Rob Font. In this fight here, Rafael Assunção is the number 3 ranked bantamweight, Rob Font number 11. But Rafael Assunção's last loss was to the current champion TJ Dillashaw. Since then, he's won 3 fights in a row, 2 split decisions, though, over Aljamain Sterling and Marlon Moraes. He got another decision here tonight over Rob Font, and that's not the best way to make your claim for a title shot, but winning 4 fights in a row since losing that number 1 contender fight, he has came out and said he feels like he's deserved his title shot. We have to keep in mind, we also got Marlon Moraes, who looked amazing in his last performance against Jimmy Rivera. He knocked him out in, 20 seconds, Sonny. That first head kick, really early in the first round after knocking out Aljamain Sterling. So, Marlon Moraes has made his own case for the next bantamweight title shot. But keep in mind, we got UFC 227 coming up. TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt. And that's a fight that we have to see how that plays out first. If TJ wins, maybe we can get the super fight worked out that we've all wanted to see with Demetrius Johnson. But even if that's off the table, maybe then, Rafael Assunção and Marlon Moraes, it'll be hard to figure out who gets that title shot out of them, you know what I'm saying? So in the meantime, in between time, maybe one of them takes a fight just to make it their case that much better, because Marlon Moraes, he's been putting in work since coming over to the UFC. But one thing about that is he has a split decision loss to Rafael Assunção. So that's interesting. But Rafael Assunção now on a 4-fight winning streak since losing to TJ Dillashaw. I heard Dana White asked about this, I believe, at the post-fight press conference, and he said, you have to remember, he said Rafael Assunção just went away from the sport, you know what I'm saying, for quite some time. So, it looks like the UFC still keeps that in mind as well. So we'll see what happens, but if Cody Garbrandt wins, you know what I'm saying, at UFC 227, then we could be looking at a trilogy. So maybe we have to get a rematch. But either way, Rafael Assunção got the win and continued to make his case for that next title shot. So that also happened at UFC 226. This is really where I kind of wanted to start off. This was crazy. You had Paulo Costa versus Uriah Hall. In this fight, Paulo Costa was hitting Uriah Hall with bricks. He was coming through, man, with the body work against the fence. That shit was crazy, bro. Paulo Costa looked like what we kind of expected in this fight, but it took some time. Uriah Hall definitely looked good as well. He probably even lasted a little longer than some people might have imagined. They probably thought that he was Uriah Hall was going to get ran through by the eraser Paulo Costa. They thought he was just going to get erased. But Uriah Hall did a good job. He landed some spinning kicks to the body. He landed some strong shots himself. And so Uriah Hall definitely put up a fight. I would really like to go back and watch this entire card again. This is one of those cards. I would watch it from start to finish again. I might do that later on tonight because I've had so much going on since the fights. electricity got turned off last night, like the whole block's nothing crazy. So we went a few hours without power, kind of messed some stuff up. Then today had work, but I really want to go back and watch a lot of these fights again, because just thinking about this fight, I remember it being really good, but everything's not coming back. So I really might just go do that tonight, watch the entire card again. So yeah, but either way, this was a fun fight. Paulo Costa got the W, and now he's looking for a fight with Chris Weidman. He doesn't even know who Israel Adesanya is. Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, wanted the winner of this fight. And I think that would be a great matchup. As like being a fan, like I don't know about I'm not thinking about business right now. I'm not thinking about, what's best for the UFC or for these guys' careers. I'm thinking about as a fan right now, bro. Right? Paulo Costa versus Israel Adesanya, especially coming off of a fight, both of them this weekend, they both looked great. Both of them now in the top 10 in I would just love that fight. It's probably going to be a stand-up fight. Holy shit, dog. Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. That would be a great fight, man. So we'll see what happens there. But I would like to see that fight, but it doesn't look like Paulo Costa is interested in that fight at the moment. He's got his eyes set on bigger things, actually, in Chris Weidman. But we're going to talk about that a little later. We also had Gokhan Saki getting knocked out in the first round by Khalil Roundtree Jr. Holy smokes. Smoked him, man. That's crazy, because you had a more stand-up oriented MMA fighter versus like a kickboxing legend. And so with that being said, you kind of expect the kickboxer to get the better of the stand-up fighter, because if you're going to beat Gokhan Saki, you would have imagined it would take like a strong grappling game plan, like a guy that can take him down and keep him there and take advantage of his inexperience on the ground. You don't expect him to come in here and get fucking blasted in the first round by Khalil Roundtree Jr. So that was crazy. First round knockout for Khalil Roundtree Jr. That shocked a lot of people. But nothing compared to that main event. Holy shit, I can't wait to get to that. But we also had, continuing on, Pettis. Yo, what a great night of fights. I'm legit going to go back and watch this entire card. Michael Chiesa versus Anthony Pettis. Anthony Pettis with the triangle armbar over Michael Chiesa. Whoo, man. And Michael Chiesa is a guy more known for his jiu-jitsu. If you picked Pettis to win this fight, even if you thought he was going to win, even a lot of people thought Chiesa might win. And I picked Pettis to win this fight, but once Michael Chiesa missed weight, I was like, oh, I don't know anymore. This is kind of, the grappler, the guy that's the more experienced grappler, the bigger fighter, also missed weight. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of scared for my pick there, because I thought Pettis was going to come in, with something to prove and let people know, like, yeah, I've lost some fights, but I've been fighting high level. I lost to Max Holloway, and you know what I'm saying, and his other loss, Dustin Poirier. These are guys that are the best fighters in the world. So you know what I'm saying? Just because he lost those fights and he got finished in those fights, I didn't think Showtime was done. So with that being said, he came out and showed it. Even though Michael Chiesa missed weight, and Anthony Pettis looked great in this fight. Even when Michael Chiesa did take him down or have him on his back, he was always attacking submissions. And then on the feet, he was looking good as well. Anthony Showtime Pettis came out and showed his ass. Man, that was a great fight. Pause. But that was an amazing finish. He had the triangle locked up, but then he got the triangle armbar. Like, that was crazy. It did. Some of you guys might have not watched the Embedded episode 6, but if you did, bro, Michael Chiesa like, see you in Bellator, boy. He was talking trash to Pettis. That was the hardest line, like, of the Embedded series. See you in Bellator, boy. Like, oh shit, Michael Chiesa's talking big shit coming into this fight, and then he missed weight. And then he got triangle armbar. Showtime Pettis coming through. Let's fucking go. Holy smokes. That was another great fight. But we had another one. Yo, I'm telling you, this is a great fucking weekend of fights. Because the day before we had, of course, the Israel Adesanya Tavares Ultimate Fighter card. So, holy shit, brother. But this was a great fight for Mike Perry. A much-needed win. Gives him that much more time to train with Jackson Wink and become a well-rounded fighter. Great win over Paul Felder. And Paul Felder broke his arm in the fight. I believe his right arm in the third round. But it was still a war. First and second rounds, it made it a great fight. And then Mike Perry did his thing. He wasn't able to knock out Paul Felder. But he's showing he's not just a knockout artist anymore. He doesn't just have to win by knockout anymore. He just won his first decision in his career, training with Jackson Wink, mixing in the oblique kicks. I'm sure he's going to be mixing in a lot more. The more he has time to get that much more well-rounded and train with that great camp in Jon Jones and just be around greatness that much more. Hopefully, he doesn't take the wrong drink from Jon Jones. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, don't take that one, Mike. Don't take that one. I can't take that one, right? You know what I'm saying? Like one of them special drinks. Like, don't get none of his Mountain Dew, if you know what I'm saying, or whatever Jon Jones is drinking as of right now that's got him failing these tests. But either way, man, Mike Perry's with Team Jackson Wink right now, and this was a good win for him, because if he would have lost, he might have kind of been on the edge, you know. People would have still had their doubts, and people would have if he would have lost to Paul Felder here, I think people would have wrote Mike Perry off. He's a knockout artist. He's not a fighter. Get him out of here. He's a thug. He's an idiot. Kind of like Paul Felder was saying coming into this fight. And with that being said, this was a feel-good win as a fan of Mike Perry, and knowing that, like, he's got a lot of potential still. He's definitely always dangerous, and now he's still young in his game, and it gives him that much more time and room to grow while still being in the UFC. So that was a good win. I'm a big fan of Paul Felder. That didn't feel good seeing him lose. This was one of those, you know, I'm a fan of both of the guys. Don't want to see either one lose, and especially Paul Felder taking this fight on short notice after losing his two opponents. But Paul Felder did look big coming into this fight. You know, I actually picked Mike Perry originally, but this was another one of those fights looking at the weigh-ins, I was like, oh, man, I'm not confident in this pick anymore. Like, I picked Pettis and Perry to win, but after weigh-ins both times, I was like, oh, shit, I'm not that confident anymore. But either way, they got the job done, and both of them were great fights. So Paul Felder, man, he took the fight up a weight class on short notice. He fights at lightweight. This was a fight at welterweight. Not going to really affect him too much, you know, as far as his rankings or his stock is concerned. He still went out there, and his stock probably raised. Not only did he take a fight on short notice, that's kind of like, you know, being a company guy, doing your thing, and stepping up and taking a fight, but also he fought with a broken arm to a decision, and it was a war, so it was a fun fight. So I think Paul Felder's stock rose for me. I mean, I think I don't hold anything against him for that loss for sure, and it was a great fight. So moving on, we also had Ngannou versus Lewis. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that, full-time family? Can somebody please explain to me what happened in Ngannou versus Lewis? As a matter of fact, I'm pulling up the chat right now. We got to see what happened. Hold on, let me pull it over here. What happened in Ngannou versus Lewis? Full-time family, this is where we're going to go check out the comments and see what's going on with Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. What were you guys thinking during that fight? Because, man, I know a lot of people were pissed. My brother, like, this is one of the fights I got him to watch the card. Like, bro, you're going to have Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou. Like, I was telling him a lot of the stuff about Derek Lewis and how he's from Houston and, you know, cool-ass dude, like, why I'm a fan of Derek Lewis. And he already knew about Francis Ngannou. I mean, you know, everyone knows about Francis Ngannou. And so he wanted to see this fight. And after the fight, he was like, yo, that was... what the fuck? You told me to watch this card for this fight. He was pissed off at me. You know, so if you got people to watch this fight, if they were watching this one, like if they didn't care, right, if they're super casual, and this is when they tuned in, and I'll have to ask him because I was upstairs, he was downstairs, if he watched like the Pettis fight and the Perry fight. I'll ask him that later. But if they tuned in for the Ngannou-Lewis fight, boy, were they disappointed. Now, thankfully, Daniel Cormier came up and saved the day in a major way. Because if that would have just been a decision, could you imagine if, like, that would have been a decision in Ngannou versus, like, if that would have been a hard-fought decision, like, even, you know, a grind-out Cormier versus Miocic decision, people would have kind of been upset in my mind, because that would have really kind of made that fight stand out. But Daniel Cormier, holy smokes, my motherfucking dog, the champ, the GOAT, knocked out Stipe in the first round. I almost want to start talking about that now. But yeah, just for a quick second, not going to stick on this fight very much. I mean, Derek Lewis has been extremely hard on himself. But let's see. John LeBeau said, Francis hype train is over. It was a shit show. Is that John LeBeau with the cut on his elbow? I know it's not. John LeBeau, Kimbo versus Dada 5000. Yeah, 2.0. What's hilarious is after Ngannou versus Stipe, I kind of predicted that. So if some of you guys saw that. Stoneheart said Derek committed several times. Francis just ran, and that's another thing I was seeing in the fight. Derek Lewis was throwing some nasty fucking switch kicks, and they were getting up there. It wasn't attempts that you were laughing at. It was like, oh, if he would have caught Francis with that, he might have been done for. Derek Lewis was throwing some shit, boy. Now, it wasn't super often, but you got to think about his back, which is always unfortunate for Derek Lewis, that you have to think about his back, you know, and because coming into the fight, he was talking about how he got the magnesium shot, his back shouldn't be a problem. And then here we are at the end of the first round. Yo, my back's fucking up. It's like, damn, dog. But still, he was throwing some fun shit. It wasn't often. There was a couple times where he was sitting still, and I was like, yo, is the pay-per-view freezing? Like, what's going on? Like, it was kind of like to the point where you almost laugh. Like, he didn't move. But with that being said, it was one of the least entertaining heavyweight fights you've seen in a long time, unless you're just laughing at it, you know what I'm saying? But it's crazy. But with that being said, Derek Lewis has been hard on himself. He was coming into this fight talking about, you know, if I win this fight, I believe I'm going to make my case for a title shot if I can win this fight in impressive fashion, and that definitely didn't happen. So now he feels like his stock dropped, and it might have, man. A lot of people are kind of pissed off about this fight. Yeah, I'm live. What's up? All right, tell him I'll be on the Xbox to talk to him about it afterward. Damn, my fucking cousin just. All right, but yeah, but either way, Derek Lewis, he feels like he set himself back with the with that performance, because now he feels like his stock dropped, and he talked about possibly fighting Curtis Blades. And this is my thing, man. If I'm Derek Lewis, really the pressure isn't on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fans have pressure on you, but a lot of it was Francis Ngannou. People picked Francis Ngannou to come in here and fucking take Derek out. They counted Derek out, even after seeing him versus Stipe Miocic. That's what's crazy. I mean, you're Francis Ngannou, and, you know, you're still almost a huge favorite coming into this fight after that performance, and it's because he's still a very powerful dude. But now, think of your Francis Ngannou. You probably can't fix that type of cardio issue in what, 6 months? How long was he out? So he's probably got to be efficient with his energy. You know what I'm saying? Like Conor McGregor, whenever people started to question his cardio, he's like, look, I was inefficient with my energy. Francis Ngannou in that Stipe fight, he blew his load in the first round. So he was taking it slow, so you kind of understand it. But when nothing happens for the whole fight, it's like, all right, man, come on now. And then think about it this way. Derek Lewis is a guy, he's known to put people out in the third round, right? That's when he comes alive. So you're like, all right, now we're in the third round. This has been a shit show until now, but now here's Derek Lewis. He's about to connect to something. And then the fight ends, and it's like, fuck out of here, dog. But Stoneheart said the most anticipated fight was the worst. Derek is humble. He even took the Roy Nelson fight to heart. Yeah, Derek Lewis, he takes that shit, you know, and that's part of and being a fan of Derek. I'm really not too mad at Derek Lewis for that performance, and that's why I'm kind of saying, like, you did just beat the #1 contender. He was the one that was kind of supposed to steamroll you, so maybe you should not be putting it out there like, yeah, I set myself back, you know, because you're being hard on yourself, but at the same time, you still beat the #1 contender, and if it comes to you and Brock Lesnar, there might be a lot of fans that are, it's going to be hard to be on his side after that type of fight, but at the same time, if you know, there's people that are going to be like, man, no, Brock Lesnar coming in and getting a title shot, fuck that. Who's the #1 contender? It's Derek Lewis, because you just beat the #1 contender. Now you got Curtis Blades and Alexander Volkov up there. The heavyweight division is getting real exciting as far as just serious talent in the top 5. And I'm talking about the future of the heavyweight division. Curtis Blades, Alexander Volkov making names for themselves. We got some fun fights you can have up there, you know, mixing up some of those top guys now. But with that being said, Derek Lewis did just beat the #1 contender. So now he's coming out and he's not even, you know, trying to get the title shot because he feels like he let the fans down. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens. He's probably not going to get the title shot, especially with what we just saw, you know, after the Miocic versus Cormier fight. But either way, you know, with the Brock Lesnar situation, but either way, he's up there now. He's up there. Derek Lewis is probably going to be ranked like #2, #1 now. So we'll see what happens in this next fight. A fight with him and Curtis Blades. I'm not going to lie. I'm a fan of Derek Lewis, and I even counted him out in this fight. Curtis Blades is a whole nother monster, though. Curtis Blades, I don't think he's going to be getting exposed by anybody. Curtis Blades is sad. I got, you know, I'm on the Curtis Blades. I don't want to call it a hype train because I don't think it's a hype train, but I believe in his skills in the heavyweight division. So if Derek Lewis has to fight Curtis Blades, he might not get that title shot anytime soon. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens. But the next title shot might be going to Brock Lesnar. But first, Daniel Cormier has said that he's open to defending his light heavyweight title, possibly versus Shogun. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about that after we talk about this fight first. Not a lot of fight to talk about. Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier, champ versus champ super fight. A lot of people picking Stipe to win this fight, counting DC out, even though he was already, in my opinion, in the GOAT conversation. A lot of, if you listen for a while, I've been putting DC in the GOAT conversation. I've been saying, listen, he was 13-0 at heavyweight. The only person to beat him was Jon Jones, who failed his drug test at light heavyweight. He's already got one of the best resumes of all fighters at 2 divisions. So whether it's pound for pound you want to talk about, whatever you want to talk about, DC's already up there. And now with this knockout of Stipe Miocic, it is official as a whistle, first round. And he talked about the fight. We're actually going to break it down a little bit. But yeah, it was a first round knockout, back and forth. Daniel Cormier said after he felt Stipe Miocic's power, it wasn't, what did he say? I'll get the exact word, but it wasn't crazy power, you know, abnormal. That's what he said. He said it wasn't abnormal power, and that's whenever he felt like he could move in for the finish. But DC, man, he knocked out Stipe. Brock Lesnar, holy shit. I know the guy from wrestling. Fucking where else did he know him from? Former champion Brock Lesnar. Get your ass in here. Holy shit. Holy crap. I thought Brock Lesnar was going to come in there like, all right, dude, like, what's up? Like, fucking, what? I'm in here. What you got to say? And he was just going to call him out like, I'll fight you next. But Brock came in there, charge him, boy. Motherfucking, you. Did y'all see how far DC flew? He flew across the octagon. You. Like, if I was on a hardwood floor and this is a rolling chair, I would, that's what that shit look like. Pew. Brock Lesnar pushed him across the octagon, grabbed the mic. He said something about the last heavyweight fight. Francis was shit. Stipe was shit. You're dog shit. Holy smokes. A lot of people are saying that looked like the WWE, including fighters. You know, we're just fans. So if we come out and say, that looked like the WWE, I mean, really, who cares? Because it was entertaining as fuck, and it's going to set up a fight. Like, it's a business. I'm not even mad if that fuck Brock Lesnar came in, you know, because no matter who won, Stipe Miocic, Brock Lesnar could have been coming back to that fight because we don't know what's going on with Jon Jones. Now, but with that being said, though, there's been fighters that come out and said it looked like the WWE, and Daniel Cormier had a message for him. He said, stay broke. Now, with that being said, we're going to get into that and a lot of other topics, just news topics that have been going on outside of UFC 226, and that's part of it. But first, let's look at this shove. Corey McVilly said Brock still got roid rage. that's what I'm saying. He was jacked up out there. What? He was all hyped up. He might have been jacked up on Mountain Dew, whatever that is. Wait, why can I not hear this? Hold on.
DC. Listen to DC. There's a guy that I've known for a long time. He's a wrestler. He's an All-American. He's a former UFC champion. I never thought I would fight him, but Brock Lesnar, get your ass in here.
Oh shit, son. Oh shit. Look at little man.
Push me now. Push me now. Get swept later, Brock. Push me now. Yeah, you're strong, but everybody's strong. Push me now.
Oh shit.
You go to sleep later.
Oh shit.
Alright, folks, I'm here with Brock Lesnar. Brock. What does this all mean to you, Brock? Let me tell you something. I walked
John
into this
LeBeau.
building and and watched the heavyweight disasters from the beginning. Ngannou's a piece of shit. Miocic a piece of shit. DC, I'm coming for you, motherfucker.
That's crazy, bro. Yo, fucking, I'm hyped after that. I'm for sure going back and watching the full card. Well, I'll probably start at like the Costa Hall fight, but I'm watching the rest. That was crazy. But yeah, man, that was Barzy and T said putting on the show. Mega Love Eater says Mega Love Everlasting said DC's a beast, man. I knew he would win. That's crazy, man. But if DC would have lost, we could have been seeing Brock Lesnar versus Stipe. Who do y'all think would have won that fight? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to call this fight, but either way, Brock Lesnar coming back and fighting for the heavyweight title is something we could talk about. We'll probably talk about that later this week. Like, what do y'all think about Brock Lesnar coming back and fighting for the heavyweight title? That's a whole nother conversation. But right now, we'll leave all of that hardcore MMA fan shit for later because, I mean, he's coming off of failing the drug test and stuff like that. So, I mean, it is kind of, you know, he's coming back from the WWE, skipping all the #1 contenders. But as of right now, is there a clear-cut #1 contender? I mean, this is, you know what I'm saying? Curtis Blades or Volkov, maybe. I mean, they're coming off impressive wins. Volkov got the win over Verdun. I mean, you could give him a title shot off of that. It's not going to be the biggest fight. Then you got Curtis Blades for sure. Very impressive win over Mark Hunt, and the way what he just did to Overeem, that's impressive. He could get a title shot if the UFC just needed someone for the title shot, but there's no one that really stands out like he's next. Derek Lewis, maybe if he would have knocked out Ngannou in the first round, that would have been crazy. He would have been next. But so really, there's no one that just stands out. So maybe Brock Lesnar just comes back, slides in there. He could beat. I don't know. I'm not counting DC out again. You got me fucked up, man. I've been one of the people arguing DC in the GOAT conversation even before this fight, and I still picked Stipe to win. Fuck that. DC's coming in here and he's doing the same thing to Brock Lesnar. KO. I'm telling you. If it gets into a wrestling match, it'd be bad for DC. Honestly, the bigger wrestler, it's not like he has a huge age advantage or anything, you know, but he's still probably more, I would say, I don't know, it's hard to say. I would say DC's probably more in his athletic prime, but it's hard to say. Brock Lesnar's a beast. But DC did say he's only fighting Brock Lesnar if he's clean. What would that even look like? Holy smokes, I don't even know what that would look like. You know what I'm saying? Holy crap, there's a lot of stuff coming up, man. So we'll move on from that. But Dana White says that Brock Lesnar thought Stipe Miocic would win the fight. This is what he had to say. He said he came here tonight. He was all fired up, if you couldn't tell. Right when he got to the seat on the side, he was acting like a lunatic. He was fired up and excited for this fight. His gut told him Stipe because he felt Cormier put too much weight on for this fight, and he thought it was going to affect him. It didn't. So Brock thought he was going to be coming in here and cutting a motherfucking promo on Stipe. Ngannou was dog shit. You just beat a fucking light heavyweight. Boom! You think he would have pushed? You think he would have pushed Stipe like he pushed DC? That's my question. Or you think Stipe ain't taking that shit? DC's in there having fun like a big old kid again, right? Like, yeah, holy shit, Brock's in here. He just fucking pushed me. What the fuck, Brock? All right, let's do it. You think he's pushing Stipe like that? I don't. I'm not gonna lie, I don't. He might have came in there then on the more respectful tip. You know, he probably wouldn't have pushed him. Who knows? Bars ENT said full-time MMA. I think Khalil Roundtree looked good. Khalil Roundtree looked great, man. Anyone that would be able to knock out a kickboxer like that, man, you definitely got to respect their striking potential. He was already more of a stand-up fighting, you know, stand-up MMA fighter. And now, put some respect on his name after that Gokhan Saki knockout for sure. Stipe would lose again, said for Western Civilization. And new King DC, says Toby Johnson. Let's go, DC, the motherfucking GOAT. Damian Hunter in the building. Let's go. DC would KO the whole world. I'm telling you, Brock Lesnar's out of there. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, please, if you can think of somebody with a legit argument for GOAT besides Daniel Cormier, put it in the chat, and I'll tell you exactly why they're not. and exactly why DC is. And I don't even want to shit on none of your favorite fighters if you consider this person the GOAT. But I'm just saying, you got to be realistic, be unbiased. That's all I'm asking. Be unbiased and give DC the respect of being the GOAT. That's all I'm asking. If you're unbiased, DC's the GOAT. I'm sorry. And we can debate that till the cows come home. And I'll tell you why you're wrong every time. DC is for sure the GOAT. So with that being said, Brock Lesnar thought Stipe would win. GSP, DC are GOATs, says Western Civilization. Yeah, GSP's up there. But if you want to talk about number one, like if there was a GOAT list, it would be like DC, then GSP, and then probably who depends on if you're talking about clean or not. You know, put John up there. You could definitely put Connor up there. But DC, for sure, is more of a GOAT than GSP, in my opinion. And I fucks with GSP. But I say that because what he did at 2 weight classes is unmatched. Nobody else was undefeated at another weight class, 13 fights in a row. GSP did come up and go up another weight class. Very impressive. And he beat Michael Bisping. Not as impressive, but it's still impressive. You got another belt. You know what I'm saying? So congrats. But DC fought 14 fights. He didn't just fight one time at heavyweight. He fought there 14 times. And he went undefeated up there. And he beat the likes of Frank Mir. And he beat the likes of Josh Barnett. And he beat the likes of Roy Nelson. And now he just knocked out Stipe Miocic, who has the heavyweight title defense record, in the first round. So he did all of that at one weight class. And then when he came down to the next weight class, he also continued to dominate literally everybody in the division except for someone who failed their drug test. And kind of like, you know, GSP with Johnny Hendricks. Like GSP, you say whatever you want about who won the fight, but he kind of felt like Johnny Hendricks might have been, a lot of people might have felt like that was before USADA, and that's kind of why GSP went away, because, you know, he didn't want to deal with people that were cheating. If you don't want to fight against cheaters, you got to wait till USADA comes around. Well, Daniel Cormier, he fought the dude, you know, and it was kind of like the same situation. You can say both of them, their losses came to someone that has questionable steroid use at the time. Questionable. Nothing guaranteed, right? Because even though Jon Jones has failed multiple drug tests, nobody really, you know, it's not a guarantee. And Johnny Hendricks for sure not a guarantee. So with that being said, they got that similarity. But 14 fights, heavyweight champion, the names that he beat in that division, he beat the best of the best, you know, like, say what you want about Michael Bisping, give him his respect, for sure, a legend of the sport. But when he was at the top of the middleweight division, not many people looked at him as like the best middleweight in the world when GSP beat him. There was a lot of people that kind of wanted that Bisping fight. Some people felt like Bisping might have, you know, there was a lot of killers, right? Yoel Romero, fucking Robert Whittaker, interim champion. There was a lot of fucking killers that you might have picked to beat Bisping at the time. Now, who you picking to beat Stipe? Nobody. Guess who just knocked him out in the first round? DC. That's crazy. And then 13 fights in a row before that at another division? GOAT. And then what he did at light heavyweight, he beat Rumble Johnson twice. That's somebody Jon Jones never even fought. He beat Alexander Gustafsson arguably in a more decisive manner than Jon Jones. But Jon Jones versus Gustafsson was a war. And, you know, that was one of the closest fights. I honestly thought, when I was watching that live, and I remember, like, I felt like Gustafsson, I was like, oh, this was a close fight. Gustafsson might get his hand raised. Just as a fan, I was like, oh, snaps, this was super close. Now, DC versus Gustafsson, that was also a close fight, but I kind of had that one for DC. So I felt like DC, in my opinion, as a fan, did better against Gustafsson than Jon Jones did. And he also never had any of the questions as far as, you know, his drug tests are concerned. Never failed a drug test. And even at light heavyweight, remained undefeated to everyone not named Jon Jones. So that's absolutely insane. He had no losses, unless you know, that's crazy. Now, what GSP can do to put his name back in that conversation, for me, right now it's DC. GSP is one of the only guys that can change that when he comes back, if he comes back at 155. If GSP comes back and wins that 155 title, if he fights like the winner of Khabib and Connor, if that's the next fight, and he wins the 3rd belt, and then we're talking about some shit, uncharted territory. 3 divisions. Say what you want about the Bisping win after that. He came back and did it at 3 weight classes? Now that's still crazy. But and even then, that's when we start having more of an even conversation, because DC heavyweight, right, is 206 all the way up to like 265 pounds. You can fight a guy with a lot more weight on him in that division. Now, that wasn't the case for Stipe Miocic's fight, because DC actually came in weighing more. But, you know, when you're fighting at 155, it's a 15-pound jump. And then when you go up to 170, it's a 15-pound jump. But that heavyweight jump, that's the biggest jump as well. But like I said, if GSP comes back and he can win that 3rd belt, I think he gets back to maybe even the GOAT right now. But right now, for what DC just did with that win over Stipe Miocic, I don't think there's anybody that's fucking with DC in my mind. But let's continue to the news. Let's see, bruh, he out-skilled Crybaby. Juice didn't do nothing. But yet you can say that, man, and because there is something to be said about that's part of their game plan, to kick DC exactly like that. That's literally called that out years ago. But you can say this: when he fought OSP, it was the only time Jon Jones really looked human, to say he didn't look like the GOAT, people would say, in that OSP fight. And in that fight, he didn't fail a drug test. Now, one thing I'll say to people who say that, though, is he was supposed to be fighting Daniel Cormier there, but Daniel Cormier was actually the one that had to pull out of that fight, and OSP replaced him. So, but with that being said, you can't tell me doing steroids doesn't help you in a fight, whether it helps your skills in the fight. You can have the game plan. You might kick that much harder. You might be that much more aware to throw that kick. You might react that much faster in the fight. You know what I'm saying? So even if you've got the skill, PEDs would help you. People aren't just using PEDs to put on muscle mass and be bigger, stronger, faster anymore. There's other aspects of the fight that those could help you in. And so if you fail a drug test, it's hard to just say, yeah, but I didn't need them. I didn't need them to whoop your ass. Like, yeah, I took them, but I didn't need them. Well, then why the fuck are you taking them? You know what I'm saying? So I hear you, though, and a lot of people believe that. My brother, he's more of a casual fan, but he believes Jon Jones is still the GOAT. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, oh, he predicted he was going to kick him in the head, man. You can't take that away. It's like, all right, man, I'll take it away all day. You should have took that away. I didn't. What you talking about? John Doe said, they get more training hours in, better recovery time. Corey McVeely says, steroids put you on a whole different level, healing and strength. That's all I'm saying. Recovering better. Your endurance is probably better in the fight. All type of stuff. Mega Love Everlasting said Woodley is no way the GOAT. Who said Woodley's the GOAT? Yeah, I don't know. You're kind of crazy with that one, dog. Fast twitch muscle reflexes, bruh. And new and still. King DC said Toby Johnson. I hear you. It's full time. What's good with your boy? Boy's been grinding. Keep it up, big fella. Yes, sir. It's DC Cooks. Much appreciated. With that being said, Daniel Cormier looked for the finishing blow after Stipe Miocic didn't hit abnormally hard. So he found out Stipe Miocic had a little bit of the... no, I was going to make a joke and say he had the cotton fist, but we're going to leave that for Colby Covington. But, no, he is saying Stipe Miocic didn't hit abnormally hard. He didn't hit like a Ford Escort. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, little bit of a Volkswagen or something. But, you know, Stipe still got knockout power. We've seen him take dudes out. Alistair Overeem, you know, and others. But either way, he wasn't hitting hard enough to make DC fear that power, which is when DC got the confidence to finish the fight. This is what he had to say. When we fight a guy, we like to get his timing. So that's what I was doing. He said, I was seeing how he hit and seeing how fast he was and everything. He took me down, and he was trying to hit me when I got back up. It all hurts. Stipe's a big, strong guy. He's a great champion, but it wasn't anything abnormal. I was like, he hits hard, but not abnormally hard. When I figured that out and I got a little bit of his timing, I figured that it wouldn't be one punch. That kind of slept me. He says, I could start to march forward and try to get in that clinch. That's what I started doing, and I started to have success there, hitting him with the jab, hitting him with a couple right hands. Early in the fight, we got into clinch positions, and you guys know one of my favorite positions is collar tie and uppercuts. I'm sure Miocic planned for that, but Rosendo Sanchez and I have been working on going collar tie uppercut and then following it with the right hook. After the first one, I think Miocic tried to block the first uppercut, but then the right hook was coming, and it landed beautifully. So DC just coming out and revealing some of his game plan on the fight and what he felt in that first round with the former heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic. Hey, you know, he's been in there with Rumble Johnson. Keep that in mind. He's definitely felt some hard hitters. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's been in there with heavyweights before. So, you know, DC knows when he's in there with the hard hitter, you know what I'm saying? But Stipe Miocic, he's not a guy that was known for his knockout power, even though he still has it. He's got knockout power for sure. He's a fucking heavyweight. But he's not known for, oh, if he touches you one time, you're out of there. He's known for his crisp boxing, and Stipe's also got some strong wrestling. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, that's how DC felt. That's whenever he felt the confidence to get that finishing blow after he felt a little bit from Stipe Miocic. A little more, though, Dana White is discussing Daniel Cormier's place in the GOAT debate. My favorite conversation right now because it's so easy. This isn't much of a debate here. This is kind of a fact at this point. You know, the debate was before this fight. I just don't see the debate here. Conor McGregor, 1 fight at lightweight. GSP, 1 fight at middleweight. Jon Jones failed his drug test. Demetrius Johnson, only a flyweight. Who are you gonna give me? This isn't a debate at this point. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Clayton Funky said I wouldn't call it a lucky punch, but Stipe just looked too relaxed after he felt his strength advantage. Leon W said, "What's up, full time and family? What's up, brother man?" God Flawless said, "I want to see those gloves DC had. I want them checked for cement." Hey, DC, motherfucking cement hands. Motherfucking Brock Lesnar duck yo taco. What are you talking about? Yoza L said, "You right. I'm just bumping on that crying ass fool, bruh." But let's see what Dana White had to say about DC being the motherfucking GOAT. He said he's one of the best of all time. Alright, we're going to give it to Dana White because we can't debate him live. But I'll just say he is the greatest of all time. This is what Dana White had to say. He's one of the best of all time. And my boy Jamari J. Williams, he does not like Daniel Cormier. He's talking about he cheated. And we can have that debate. Someone will say, oh yeah, but DC pushed on the towel that one time. That's not a performance-enhancing drug. That was a one-time deal. He came in, he still showed up to fight. He didn't duck the fight. He missed weight by a pound, 1.2, and that was one fight. And you know what? With what he just did to Stipe Miocic, motherfuck that missing weight. What are you talking about? He didn't miss weight here. He came in and fought the heavyweight champion, a weight division up. He didn't need no towel. Motherfucking... We don't need a scale. We don't even need a scale for this fight. What are you talking? We don't need a scale. I ain't fucking 265. I'm heavyweight. Big DC. Fuck you talking about. Give me that first round KO and that GOAT title. But he said this was the fight for him and that if you think about his career, he steps down from heavyweight to go to light heavyweight because his friend Cain Velasquez is the heavyweight champion at the time. He goes to 205 and has an incredible career there. But that Jon Jones thing. Jon Jones is, in my opinion, if not the, one of the greatest of all time, could be the, White continued. The potential that Jon Jones had, who knows what he could have done at heavyweight and everything else. So Cormier has to deal with it in the shadow of Jon Jones. Cormier moves back up to heavyweight and he knocks out one of the best heavyweights ever in UFC history in the first round decisively. I think what it does is it finally gives him the respect that he deserves. Ooh, you know what just stood out to me? You guys remember when Jon Jones said, every win you get goes under my belt. You know what I'm saying? Every win you get goes under my resume. Ugh, that kind of sticks out right now. But I can't do it. And White continued to sing Cormier's praises. He's a 2-division champion, and now he's got a big fight with Brock Lesnar ahead of him. A big fight, a big payday, and it couldn't happen to a better guy. He's an incredible ambassador to the sport. I said a long time ago, I told Daniel, if you're my champion for the rest of my career, I'll be a very happy man. He's a great analyst, and he does a great job on television. I just can't say enough good things about the guy, and I'm really happy for him. Hell yeah, man. This DC story, I was saying this, and I don't know what video, because I do so many and different things and live shows and different shit. But one of these videos I was saying, the story of DC is, like, remarkable. Like, everything he's been through personally, and then to what he's been able to do athletically, professionally, it's just absolutely insane, man. DC, like, that's it. 2 books. That's more than 1 book. His personal life is 1 book. His athletic achievements is 1 book. And he's went through both of them as the same fucking human being. And he's still at the top of his sport at 40, 41 years old. He's still just pushing. That shit is crazy, bro. So DC for sure is the GOAT. But that's where this Jon Jones shit comes into play. I mean, clearly, Dana White doesn't hold it as much against him as I or someone else that's thinks Jon Jones was helped out by those performance-enhancing drugs was, but he's kind of pointing to what he's saying. You know, DC's only blemish is Jon Jones. Now, Jon Jones failed the drug test, but it's still a blemish. You know what I'm saying? People still bring it up, and it's usually Jon Jones stands. But at the same time, there's some people that believe Jon Jones has the skills to do everything he's already did without the performance-enhancing drugs. He doesn't need them. And that's why I asked the question, if you don't need them, why the fuck are you taking them? That's all I'm saying. But either way, Jon Jones recently said every win Cormier gets, what do you guys think about this? Every win Cormier gets is in the shadow of Jon Jones. Do you guys think Jon Jones would have did the same thing to Stipe, if not worse? Do you think Jon Jones would have knocked out Stipe Miocic as well? Or do you think that's some shit only Daniel Cormier could have done? What do you guys think? And I'm talking about a clean Jon Jones now. Or do you guys, some of you guys think Jon Jones has always been clean? And that was just a hiccup. That you saw the drug test, it was just a little bit of a, it wasn't nothing. Neither one of them. It was dick pills and motherfucking Chinese cocaine. Come on, dog. Can't trust the plug. You trust the plug? You know what I'm saying? Jon Jones wasn't on nothing. But either way, man, we'll continue. But now he's got this fight with Brock Lesnar. And I asked this as well to you guys. If he loses this fight, does that take away from his status as GOAT if he loses to Brock Lesnar? Now, I think DC has a very good chance of winning that fight. Not only did he just knock out Stipe Miocic in the first round, for sure got cement in them gloves, but also think about his fight with Cain Velasquez. Brock Lesnar's, that is. Cain Velasquez beat the dog shit out of Brock, right? And that's his teammate. That's DC. If I'm not mistaken, was like Cain Velasquez's wrestling coach at one point. Like, he was helping Cain with his wrestling, and Cain was one of the best wrestlers in the heavyweight division. And DC moved down to let him be the champion. You know what I'm saying? So DC, I mean, he's got a real good chance against Brock, but at the same time, he's not going to be able to really rely on a wrestling game plan. He's going to have to, but he's got the hands to for sure knock Brock out, right? Now, Brock's going to probably be trying to charge him and just get his hands on him in any way possible. We've seen Brock KO, so I like DC's chances in that fight right now at the top of my head. But at the same time, if he were to lose, would that go against him that much? That would be crazy. Oh, that would kind of suck. Like, you did these marvelous things in your career. You went undefeated to everyone not named Jon Jones. You just knocked out Stipe, undefeated at heavyweight. And then your only fucking heavyweight lost to the WWE guy. And Brock Lesnar's a lot more legit than just the WWE guy. But that would just kind of be a little bit of a, you know what I'm saying, at the end of your career. But hey, it is what it is, man. It's going to be a great fight either way. And DC's getting the pay that he deserves as well. You want to talk about somebody that deserves everything that they're getting right now? That's probably Daniel Cormier, man, for sure. And also, now, it's a good thing Daniel Cormier hasn't really been coming out, in my mind, you know, because I've asked the question, like, I'm surprised he hasn't called Jon Jones a fucking drug cheat before the last time, when Jon Jones brought up his wife. You know, he finally got fed up and was like, oh, you want to bring my wife into it? You're a fucking drug cheat. Should I talk to one of your fucking baby mamas or wives or girlfriends? But it was after he was fed up. But before that, he never used that excuse. The only reason you beat me was because you were on fucking, you know, you were doping. He never said that. And he's never been one of those guys. He said, I've beat guys that were on steroids in the past. He's not a guy that comes out and throws dirt on people's names because they failed a drug test. And that's one of the reasons he doesn't hold that Jon Jones. He doesn't use that as an excuse in that fight particularly. He said, I have a feeling before USADA, I've fought guys that were on PEDs, and I beat every one of them. So I can't use that as my excuse to beat Jon Jones. So yeah, some people might feel that way, but Daniel Cormier doesn't hold that as an excuse. And he's not a guy that does that. He's never said, hey, that guy I fought was on steroids, that guy's on steroids, fuck all of you steroid motherfucking. He's never did that. And now, that's probably a good thing if you're trying, you know, and not even trying, but if you're going to be fighting Brock Lesnar, because I mean, he's probably not going to come out this whole time, and I don't, because in my mind, it's not DC's character to come out now and start saying, "Oh, this motherfucker's on steroids and shit like that." You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. That's just another thought, because Now he's going to be fighting a guy that, and I'm sure these questions might come up, but not as much if he was fighting like Mark Hunt. I'm waiting to see Mark Hunt. Oh shit, family! I want to see Mark Hunt's reaction. I want to see Mark Hunt's reaction to the video we watched in the beginning of this show, where it was the actual push. I wonder if Mark Hunt was watching UFC 226, right? Had no clue Brock was going to be in attendance. And as soon as he seen Brock, like, ask Joe Rogan to be on the podcast, he was like, what the fuck is that cunt doing up there? And then I want to know his immediate reaction. I wish they would have been recording Mark Hunt's immediate reaction whenever he watched the fucking after DC knocked out. I want to see his reaction to that too, because that was absolutely fucking crazy. His reaction to DC knocking out Miocic. But really, the comedy in my mind would be seeing Mark Hunt react to Brock Lesnar coming in, pushing DC, and like selling a title fight after how their fight ended and what's all happened since then. Like, we gotta fucking clock Mark Hunt's Twitter and his Facebook and see his reaction to this whole ordeal, because it's probably gonna be some comedy in there for sure. But either way, man, like I said, in my mind, Daniel Cormier is the GOAT for right now with what he just did. I mean, you know, it was one thing, okay, yeah, his heavyweight fights were in the past. We don't know how he'll do up there today. You know, GSP just came back and fought at middleweight. He got the title, and then he got colitis, so he didn't really have to fight like the Savages up there. He got to fight Bisping and kind of get away, and so that made him a 2-division champion. But now he's got the potential to be a 3-division champion, which no one else has done. So that's something GSP can do to kind of take that back in my mind. But as of right now, the way and the way he was able to beat Miocic, first round finish, 14-0 at heavyweight, he's got it in my mind. Jon Jones breaking his silence after UFC 226. This is what I'm interested in as well, but you know, to know what he thinks about everything. But I really want to know what Mark Hunt thinks about everything too. And I think he meant the MMA community here. He says, well, I hope the whole MMA community is having an awesome Monday. Know that God is love. Somebody tweeted him and said, I feel like the whole fighting world is waiting for Jon Jones to break the silence. And then Jon Jones really actually spoke about it. He said, just keep in mind that life is a journey and not a race. If it's in God's will for me to still be here and healthy, please believe that there'll be many more fights to come. Let's not forget I'm still the youngest guy in the top 5 at heavyweight and light heavyweight. So Jon Jones, you know, he's still, I don't want to, you know, he's still got hope. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm still young. I still got a chance to get back in there, man. It's still a shot at me to get back in there and prove that those are my belts. And that now is a possibility, you know what I'm saying? Jon Jones, after he gets his situation cleared up, he is still younger than a lot of these guys. But the question is his legacy tarnished in your mind? Is his legacy tarnished to the point to can he recover it? If he comes back and beats DC at heavyweight, you know, I think he can. You know, it's kind of hard, but he would have to do it without failing the drug test. But that's a whole, we got to talk about that another time. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. What's going to go on with these people's drug tests, because it's going to be hard to see how USADA. Brock Lesnar's a guy. I believe Dana White said he just entered the USADA testing pool like last week, if I'm not mistaken. Well, shit, I'm surprised if he's got tested twice. 2 of the motherfuckers are already suspect. You know what I'm saying? As far as he's going to get in the USADA pool and out the USADA pool within a 2-week span, because he's got to be in there for like 4 months. So he's going to have to pass that hurdle, but so will Jon Jones. And if Jon Jones comes back and wins like the heavyweight title or something, maybe he can, you know, redeem himself for sure. But for me right now, it's hard to imagine that, you know, with the 2 failed drug tests. Like, it would have to be some crazy news to come out and, like, take one of these back. Like, you failed 2 drug tests, it's kind of suspect, but maybe you can come back and do everything clean and people will forget about the past. You know, like, he used to do it, but now he's good. He stopped. He doesn't feel like he needs it anymore, and it's just the skills of Jon Jones. But either way, man, it is what it is. Jon Jones is still plotting on a comeback. Got to see how his situation plays out. He's currently suspended, but he should be back sooner rather than later. I mean, there's talks of him getting like a 1-year suspension, but it's like retroactive. So if he gets a 1-year suspension, it's almost been a year since then, so he'll be almost immediately able to come back. So we'll see what happens with that. But then you have the question, when Jon Jones comes back, how's he going to look? Is he going to look like he did against OSP, or is he going to look like he did against DC in the rematch? God Flawless says UFC's way of promoting GOATs and titles. I hear forward thinking, respect. Oh, that's another video I got to do. I'm glad forward thinking's in here because that's what reminded me. I'm motherfucking going to be trying to get like a co-host soon, but it's going to have to be somebody like that does like, you know, for these live shows. But it's going to have to be, of course, after I get a new monitor. But yeah, I'm going to be trying to get a co-host soon, but someone that's going to be able to like possibly do the thumbnails and come up with the topics. For one, it'll be good to have another voice on here, and for two, also, it'll be good to have somebody else to bounce back off of. You know, I don't want it to just be me all the fucking time. You know, probably get burnt out on that shit. So, yeah, I'm gonna be trying to get a co-host. It's probably not gonna be this week, maybe not this month, but that is definitely in the plan sometime in the future. But yeah, forward thinking. There's two guys that I have in mind that I know would be really good for it. But I don't know if you guys are going to want to do some of the stuff that comes with it. Because, like, I'm broke as fuck, right? We don't make any money off of this shit right now. So it kind of just be for fun. Kind of like I'm doing pretty much most of this shit is just for fun. A lot of it. But either way. So, yeah, I'm going to be looking to do that sometime in the future. So, you reminded me when you brought up forward thinking. So, shout out to forward thinking. But, yeah, forward thinking and Dan from Oregon. Both of them, I feel like they they've joined the conversation before, and I really enjoyed it every time. So, let's see. The 22 game says the co-host in the same screen cam or separate cam. Probably a separate cam. You know what I'm saying? Probably have like me in one corner and them on the other corner or something like that, for sure. Something like that could be worked out, but right now I can't do that. I can soon. Like, I've got what I need. I just need like one more computer screen, and those are kind of cheap. But yeah, I gotta get like fucking $60, $40, however much it's gonna take to actually get one of those, and then I don't have the space right now because my computer desk is kind of small and I already have the laptop set up, so it's really weird. So yeah, I kind of need a bigger space and then a computer desk, and then we'll be in the game A1. We can have multiple people in here. We can do the hangouts eventually and all of that once I get that. So C-Level DC in the building said, what's up, full-time family? We the family are the co-hosts, said God Flawless. Well, yeah. You guys are for sure the co-hosts because we come check out the chat. But what I'm saying is like, just somebody else on screen as well, and they can also be reading the comments. Like whenever I'm talking about the news or something, he can be reading the chat and not miss something, because whenever I'm going on a fucking 30-minute, or not 30-minute, I don't go that long without checking the chat, but if I go on like a fucking 5 or 10-minute talk about something, and we're talking about one topic, and you guys are talking in the comments, and I can't read it because I'm reading the article and talking, then he'll be seeing some of the comments. Like, oh yeah, by the way, God Flawless said this about Diddle Doom. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, All Pro Limited said you and Fast Topics would be lit. Yeah, that guy. You know, it would be. I would definitely do something with him. You know what I'm saying? But it would have to be right. You know what I'm saying? He'd have to reach out, maybe apologize. No, it would be interesting. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely would. Yoza L said, get some fam that puts it in the air. Yeah, see, that's not super pretty. Says more likes, please support your boy. Hit that like button if you're in here and you're part of the full-time family. Everybody else, do your own thing, man. Clayton Funky says, well, in Stipe's defense, he out-muscled DC, no problem, and way faster hands, too. I hear you, and that being said, what do you think about the Brock Lesnar-Daniel Cormier fight, Clayton Funky? What do you think about him out-muscling DC? If it got in a grappling situation, it probably wouldn't be great for DC, but now we know we got those hands of stone. Motherfucking Daniel Lineker up there. Weezy336 said the winner of Khabib McGregor also has to beat Ferguson. Yeah, that should be the fight, right? Ferguson next for sure. But if GSP wants that 155-pound title shot, sorry, Ferguson, you were just one of the guys getting fucked by the UFC. You know, because him getting stripped that interim title was already, in my mind, kind of, I don't want to say it's fucked up, but it kind of is fucked up because he won that over the number 7th ranked contender, and people doubted him and said, yeah, you beat the number 7 guy, you're not the real champion. But he won that while Conor was inactive. So if Conor was going to get stripped, that means he becomes the champion. And so for him and Conor to get stripped on the same day and him to lose his title to Khabib, who beat the number 11th ranked guy, and I fuck with Khabib, and he's probably one of the best guys in his division. It's not his fault he fought the number 11th ranked guy. But Tony Ferguson fought the number 7th ranked guy. So he was already the champion, fought a higher ranked guy, but he's sitting on the outside looking in right now. You know, so, and then if he gets skipped again, then that's even more kind of like, oh shit, El Cucui's getting fucked. You know what I'm saying? By the business. Because it's not like the UFC fucking hates Tony Ferguson. It's more just like, yo, we got fucking McGregor coming back and GSP might be fighting for a 3rd belt. Are you kidding me, dog? You know, maybe they can work something out with Tony Ferguson, give him a 170-pound title shot. He's talked about moving up in the past. Who knows? Maybe he'll kick more pipes and fucking, you know, in the meantime, and break his other leg and he'll just be out. Who knows? Either way, I'm looking forward to Tony Ferguson coming back whenever that's going to be. Who's it going to be against, though? That's one interesting thing. If it's not the winner of this fight, maybe the winner of Poirier and Alvarez. That lightweight division is so fucking stacked, but it's so crazy how log jammed it is, because a lot of these guys you could put in there for a title right now. You could already put Poirier, if there were no title challengers right now, Poirier could be fighting for the title. Ferguson could be fighting for the title. Alvarez could be fighting for the title. But the way it looks right now, they could just be fighting each other. No title on the line. That's already going on with Poirier Alvarez. And then if GSP really wants to make a splash in the 155-pound division, I don't know if the GSP is going to make him wait, or if the UFC is going to make him wait. That's a lot of money. Could you think about that? GSP moving down for his 3rd belt against the winner of fucking Khabib McGregor? Dog. You think Tony Ferguson title shot's going to get in the way of all that money? That'd be the biggest fight ever. Ever. This is already going to be the biggest fight ever. Now put fucking GSP in the mix. 3rd title fight? Holy shit. Everybody wants to see that fight, bro. Seismic Shock said, I was only talking about non-juiced goats. Big bucks, no whammy, said Yoza L. Alright, let's move on to the next topic. We got Daniel Cormier says, light heavyweight fight with Shogun could precede the Lesnar fight. This is what I was talking about a little earlier. He said he was willing to defend his light heavyweight title if need be until Lesnar gets back, because Lesnar does have to go through that testing period, so he's probably not going to be back, you know, in time for DC's next fight. So, if that is the case, then DC, he talked about possibly fighting 2 more times before he retired. If that is the case, we have to see what happened with Jon Jones, but those could be the last 2 fights of his career. He said he only wants to fight 2 more times, and he's definitely retiring by 40. And I hear him and all that. Maybe he would come back for a Jon Jones fight, but in the meantime, he might be fighting Shogun. Shogun's going to be fighting... Shogun was supposed to be fighting Ozdemir, right? But now Ozdemir's fighting Gustafsson. So yeah, why would it be Shogun? Hold on, I'm about to read it. I'm just thinking about it first off the top of my head. But I was thinking just now, Shogun was supposed to be fighting Ozdemir at UFC Hamburg, but Alexander Gustafsson lost his opponent in Luke Rockhold to injury, and that fight wasn't official, but that's what it was looking like. So Gustafsson needed an opponent for UFC 227, so now you got Ozdemir in there. And so those are like the number 1 and number 2 ranked light heavyweights, Ozdemir and Gustafsson. You would think the winner of that fight might fight DC, but this headline says that DC's open to fight Shogun before Lesnar, so we'll see what happens. It says... Daniel Cormier tells Ariel Helwani the Brock Lesnar will be the next heavyweight fight, even if it takes place during Super Bowl weekend, but he could get one in at 205s in the meantime. Says if Shogun wins, he'd like to fight him. So Shogun, I believe he's got a new opponent, and it might be Corey Anderson, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. But either way, I would be interested to see why it would be Shogun. Maybe just another legacy fight, like he wants a win over Shogun. You know, he's a legend of the sport. It would do more for his resume, his legacy, to fight Shogun. Maybe he's always wanted to fight Shogun. But I just feel like Gustafsson's a guy who's kind of been waiting for a title shot, and that's the thing. He's kind of been waiting. Shogun's, though, he hasn't been super active himself. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, but in that light heavyweight division, you got a number 1 contender fight kind of taking place, so it would be interesting if Shogun kind of got the fight. But hey, I would like to see that fight. I think DC would win, but at the same time, that would still be a legendary fight in the sense of 2 legends. Shogun, definitely a legend of the sport, taking on Daniel Cormier. Maybe his last opportunity for a title fight for sure, Shogun. But with that being said, right now we got that number 1 title, and that's taking place at UFC 227. Gustafsson versus Ozdemir, and those are the number 1 and number 2 ranked contenders. Let's pull this up, UFC rankings, and look at it. See if Shogun, I believe he's ranked number 3 right now. And I think his new opponent might have just been announced, which would be Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson just got announced at UFC Hamburg to replace one of these guys. Let's see. He's replacing he's replacing Ela Latifi. So, but either way, the light heavyweight rankings you see right here, Shogun is ranked 8, and he was about to fight Ozdemir. So maybe if he would have got a win over Ozdemir, DC was going to give him a fight. But right now, that fight's not even happening anymore. Maybe DC didn't know that fight's not happening anymore, because if Ozdemir is fighting Gustafsson now. But yeah, Shogun was going to be fighting Ozdemir, and if he would have won that fight, he would have definitely jumped into title contention. But now that fight's not even taking place right now, so that kind of throws that out there. But DC's open to defending the light heavyweight title once before Lesnar is able to fight. And that would likely actually be against the winner of Ozdemir and Gustafsson now that that fight's going down at UFC 227. I know a lot of people, I personally would like to see Gustafsson versus Cormier 2. I feel like Gustafsson, he could get a title shot. He's definitely looked good in his last fight. I believe, was it the fight over Teixeira where he got that triple uppercut, 5th round KO? He looked good versus Teixeira and Jan Blachowicz, but he hasn't been super active himself. So this win, he would have to get probably a win over Ozdemir here to get that rematch with Cormier, and that could be the next title defense. I would like to see that fight, Gustafsson versus Cormier 2. I think that'd be dope. But if Ozdemir wins, I don't know so much. He just lost to Daniel Cormier in his last title defense, actually, at UFC 220. So interesting to see how that plays out, but DC is open to defending that belt. Yo, Full Time, you remember the old guy would talk smack about DC any chance he got? Probably still at it. I know there's Jamari J. Williams. He used to be around a lot more, but I don't know he's not anymore. He's just been around he's been around recently, though, to say that DC is a cheater. And so I'm guessing he's talking about Towelgate, but I mean, that was, in my mind, I don't know if that's cheating, because even if he missed weight, this is the thing. His opponent could have still took the fight. It's not like he missed weight and his opponent was going to not take the fight or anything like that. Rumble Johnson wanted that title shot. Rumble Johnson wasn't going to pull out of the fight if DC missed weight. Now, the only thing that would have did is made it like not for a title. And so what are you saying, that DC should have got stripped or something? Or are you saying the fight should have just been rescheduled? Or do you think that DC would have lost to Rumble if he made weight? Like, I don't understand how that's like cheating. I guess because, the letter of the law says that the fight should have been rescheduled or something. Like, what is that really doing? You know what I'm saying? And so maybe that's what they're talking about. But if you want to talk about DC being a cheater, you can look at a lot of the guys he's fought. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you have to say about Jon Jones if you're calling DC a cheater? And some people are saying that, though. Clayton Funky said Shogun's still a hammer, though. Yoza L said they cheat with the juice brush. Some don't switch up the formula. Sonnen vs. Hua 2 in Bellator. Avenge getting choked out, said Bob Cratchit. Wheezing336 says, I'm not interested in DC Gustafsson 2. Do something interesting like make Romero if you're retired next year. That's a good fight. DC would just beat Gustafsson again. Yeah, that would be fun. Romero versus DC. But I would, yeah, that would be fun. But the thing is, I mean, you would have to, let's say fuck it and just skip over all the light heavyweight rankings. Like, hey, fuck it, Yoel, you did miss weight a couple times and lose all your title fights, except for the one with Luke Rockhold, which was an interim title fight, but he didn't get to win the title because he missed weight. But you're coming off of missing weight twice, move up a weight class and get a title shot. I mean, I would like to see the fight, but I don't know if it makes a lot of sense right now coming off of the loss. But hey, it would definitely be a fresh matchup. My allergies are starting to fuck with me, so we're about to move on. But I just feel a sneeze coming on. It's one of those ones you feel it, but it's not coming, so it's just annoying. But either way, Derek Lewis believes his dual win has him farther from a UFC title shot. We talked about this a little bit. Derek Lewis, hard on himself. If you watch the post-fight press conference, extremely, like, he almost seemed depressed, like, that he didn't entertain. It's like, motherfucker, you should have felt like that in the third round. You already heard the boos. You know the first and second round wasn't nothing. They're letting you know. So you should have already been thinking this in the third round, and that's where you come alive anyway. That's where I was like, all right, now it's Derek's turn. He's already throwing some crazy switch kicks, some good-looking kicks, and some good shit. Not often, very rarely, but when he would throw, it was some cool shit, some fun shit that could have knocked out Francis. But there was only like 33 strikes total in the fight. But this is kind of my thing. Like, you're hard on yourself after the fight. If you were that eager to entertain and you really wanted to come out here and you had the pressure on your shoulders of, man, fuck, man, I wanted to do something in that fight. All I'm saying is just maybe in the third round, turn it up. Turn it up in the third. That's all I'm asking. Fuck it. Risk it for the biscuit in the third. You ain't doing it in the first and the second. That might be strategy. I get it because he's a fast starter and we know he ain't got the best cardio. So let Francis Ngannou run out some of that energy. But now what do you do when he's like, well, I'm not about to use my energy. You come forward. Now you motherfuckers are just in a stalemate. And it's like, well, damn, now I can't even explode because he never wasted his energy. And so it ends up turning into a huge shit show. But Derek Lewis is disappointed in himself, and he feels like his stock went down. And now, even though he beat the #1 contender, he feels like he's still like 2 fights away from the title shot. And all right, if you're going to say that, I don't know who's going to argue it for you. I mean, you could, in my mind, as a Derek Lewis fan, I would have liked him to come out here and say, yeah, I know y'all wanted to see somebody get knocked out in this fight, but I'm fighting the hardest hitter in the UFC, and he's the #1 contender. Everybody expects me to come in here and get knocked out in the first round. I know he's a fast starter, so I'm trying to take it to the later rounds. My back locked up on me because he did say he was having back problems, and so I didn't get to explode like I wanted to in the third round, but I did enough to get the win, and I'm happy with that. You know, sorry y'all didn't get to see the knockout you wanted, but I got a win over the #1 contender in the heaviest division in the UFC. Black Beast, sweetie swinging, bang on you motherfuckers. You know, I would have just liked to see a little more of that from him. Like, man, yeah, I got a W. Fuck how I got it, man. I got it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know y'all thought everyone was counting on me to come in here and get knocked out or knock someone out, but man, it is what it is. I got a W. But he's taking it hard, and he's like, shit, I might be 2 fights away. And he might have to fight Curtis Blades, and who knows who else. But if that's the case, like I said earlier, I don't know how that's going to go for my dog. I counted him out in this fight, not heavily. I didn't really expect Francis Ngannou to come in here and just knock him out because if that's what you're expecting, it's going to be kind of hard to do, right? If everyone's expecting it. Now, and especially Derek Lewis, he's not known for having a glass chin, so even if you connect with him once or twice in the first, it's not like he's just going straight to sleep like someone else might. So, it is what it is, though. Derek Lewis likely not fighting for the title shot. He's not beating his own drum to fight for the title, and it looks like either way, Brock Lesnar, even if he was, he would probably just be getting pissed off at Brock Lesnar because he might be taking his shot. Now, think about this. If Derek Lewis had a different mindset right now, and he was like, man, I beat the #1 contender. I'm just trying to get to the gold. Shit, I'm trying to get the title shot however I can. Then he'd probably be pretty pissed off right about now. Like, I just beat the #1 contender, and y'all about to give me Brock Lesnar my title fight? Well, he's not really expecting the title fight, you know what I'm saying, because of his performance. He let the fans down. Probably not going to be a lot of fans that are clamoring for him to get a title shot. You know, even though I would like to see him saying that, I don't know if, you know what I'm saying, if that performance gets you a title shot. And his last performance, if you think about his last fight versus, I believe, Marcin Tybura, talking about Derek Lewis's, he was losing the first 2 rounds. I had him down on the cards in the first 2 rounds for sure. And I was like, oh, shit, man, Derek Lewis is about to lose here. And then he got the 3rd round TKO, and I was like, let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. But so, you know, with that being said, his last 2 performances now haven't been his greatest, and he's really got to get that back taken care of. So, I mean, that's something that could be hindering his career. So that's another thing. If I'm Derek Lewis and I got a motherfucking bad back, I'm trying to get to the title shot ASAP. You know, I'm trying to touch that heavyweight gold before I'm out of here. One time for the one time. And I got a bad back. My bad, my back fucked up, or I would have knocked him out in the 3rd. I should have got my shot closer to the fight or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because he talked about, someone asked him about his back coming into the fight, and he said, yeah, I got my magnesium shot like a week ago. I should be good throughout the fight. But then after the first round, my back hurts. So it's like maybe we should have got the shot a couple of days later or whatever's going on, but he just mistimed it a little bit here. But either way, Derek Lewis doesn't believe he deserves a title shot, so hey, we'll move on. Paulo Costa dismissing a potential fight with the last stylebender, doesn't even know who he is, calling out Chris Weidman. And Paulo Costa, he's got his eyes set on moving up the division. He wants to be the next Brazilian legend of the sport, and to do that, you got to beat big names and get the title shot. And one of those big names, especially for Brazil, would be Chris Weidman. We know Chris Weidman is the one that dethroned Anderson Silva. Chris Weidman, so he's kind of the guy that's looked at as the guy that took away that Brazilian legend. And I believe even TKO'd Vitor Belfort, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Weidman. Let me pull that up. But either way, even just with the Anderson Silva wins, the guy that beat Anderson Silva twice, Anderson Silva was that guy for a long time. Not even just for Brazil. Motherfucking for me coming up, I was like, yo, Anderson Silva's the GOAT. And I was a super casual fan at the time. Holy shit, the stuff he's doing, that's crazy. Inside the fight, dodging, coming back, and knocking you out, that's crazy. He was the GOAT for a long time. So for Weidman to beat him, for Chris Weidman to beat him, that would be a huge win for Paulo Costa. You could imagine for not only the Brazilian people, but it's just a big win. Former champion Chris Weidman, on top of being the guy to smash the Spider, I mean, that would be a huge legacy fight for Paulo Costa, and it would also probably put him over that much more with his people. Look, I avenged Anderson Silva's loss. I got one back. Kind of like if Max Holloway could beat Frankie Edgar. Look, I avenged Hawaii's loss whenever he beat BJ Penn all those times. I got one back for us. Paulo Costa's got an opportunity to do that with the win over Chris Weidman, and so maybe that's what he's looking forward to. Meanwhile, you got the last stylebender wanting you. The last stylebender said, I either want Uriah Hall, the clout chaser, or I want the motherfucking eraser, because I've been chewing on eraser since I was in school. I just like that line. He said, I've been chewing on erasers, and I'm not going to lie, as a fan of the sport, that fight would be fucking off the walls for me. Like, that would be insane. Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa right now would be an amazing fight. Two stand-up guys. They're not really known for, neither one of them's going to try and come in here and expose the other one as far as, oh, I'm going to take you down and expose your ground game. No, that's not what's going to happen. You got two of the best strikers also with great takedown defense coming in here. Two of the futures possibly of the middleweight division coming in here and just throwing down, bro. That would be an amazing fight for both of these guys. I don't know who would win. Now, if you're the UFC, probably not the best business move putting two of your future stars of the middleweight division up against each other right now. These guys could fight for a title in the future against each other. This could be a future title fight in the middleweight division. But right now, they're both coming off big wins at International Fight Week. Israel Adesanya, his first main event, dominant performance over Brad Tavares. Paulo Costa fighting at UFC 226 against Uriah Hall. Spectacular win, second round KO. That would be a great matchup for me. And Israel Adesanya wants the fight. But Paulo Costa, not so much as of right now. He's like, who the fuck is that guy? I'm trying to fight Weidman, dog. I don't know about that guy. So he's got his highs, and you can't really say he's ducking. I mean, for sure, he might legit just not know who Israel Adesanya is. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not keeping up with the sport daily, and it's kind of hard, being a middleweight to believe it. It is kind of hard to believe, but he might be legit. Like, I'm looking at the top 5 guys. I'm trying to fight Weidman and see how I'm going to get the belt and fight these legends. I'm not thinking about the other up-and-comers. I'm the up-and-comer. Paulo Costa's probably not sitting around plotting on Adesanya, but that might be a mistake because Adesanya wants him. So that would be a great fight. Maybe the fans will want to see it and the UFC will put it together, but we'll see what happens. I believe Dana White was also asked about it, and he was like, oh, Adesanya wants that fight? That's good to hear, but we'll see what happens. So it's definitely not a guarantee by any means, and if you're listening to Costa, he's kind of dismissed it. But what do you guys think about Paulo Costa versus Chris Weidman? I mean, calling out Chris Weidman is definitely a test for anybody. If you can get past Chris Weidman, you're definitely set as a future title contender because you're going to have more than excellent takedown defense, because he might be the best wrestler in the middleweight division. So that's a fucking tough fight for Costa. How the fuck can you wear that hat in this heat? Man, I kind of just got it sitting up top right now. I ain't got it all the way down, or it would be super hot. But yeah, man, it's hot as fuck in here, man. I'm telling you right now. And my air conditioner doesn't work all the way. Like, we got that shit set on 74 degrees, but it stays 79 in here. Never gets higher because our insulation sucks. And so it's even hotter up here. And upstairs heat rises. But yeah, man, yeah. I don't got to push down all the way, you know, because I kind of got the heat in mind. And the show's almost over, which is a good thing. Dan from Oregon in the building. I'd watch Wyden versus Eraser. Yeah, that would be a fun fight for sure. If he got that, I think that would be a great fight. On top of it being a great fight, you know, the fact that he's coming in trying to show himself as the next Brazilian legend, the future of Brazil in MMA, and he's trying to take out the guy that took out Anderson Silva, who was the fucking GOAT for a while. He's the guy that took out Anderson Silva, dethroned Anderson Silva. So that fight would probably mean a lot to Paulo Costa as well. So with that being said, we got Brian Ortega doubling down on ducking his taco a little bit. Brian Ortega says he stands by his decision to not fight replacement at UFC 226. He says, "I'm no yes man," and this is where it comes in for me. Was Brian Ortega ducking Jeremy Stephens? The answer is yes. Now, when you ask, is he scared of Jeremy Stephens? The answer is no. There's a difference between ducking and being scared. And in this situation, I can't blame T-City because he's never fought for that title before. And also, he has earned that title shot. He might, you know what I'm saying? So you can't fault the guy for trying to earn the most money possible. I mean, you can just as a fan, but if you were in their shoes, you might do the same thing. But a lot of people look at it like, well, and I heard Chael Sonnen say it this way: if you're trying to be a champion and the UFC sees that you already aren't willing to fight anyone anywhere, then why do you think that they're going to want you to be the champion if you're already kind of being hard to work with? You're not willing to take this interim title fight right now. So then, why would they want to make you a champion? You know what I'm saying? Because they already see how you're going to be, kind of. So that's one thing. But also, the thing about this is, it's a smart business decision, and this is a business. That's what they always tell you. Like, that's what they always tell you about the UFC, right? So if the UFC can use that excuse, then you got to give it to the fighters sometime, especially when they're fighting for the biggest opportunity of their life. Now, it might be different if you're a fighter that doesn't need the money. If you're a fighter that has already been a champion, you've already made millions in the sport, or you've already been a champion multiple times, even like we've seen with Frankie Edgar when he did take the fight with Brian Ortega. Might be a little more reasonable for him because he's been the champion before. He might have been more confident in his abilities at that time as well, or whatever the reason is, but Frankie Edgar's definitely a little more set. He's already a future Hall of Famer. Brian Ortega's trying to become that. And he just saw Frankie Edgar, a legend of the sport, make this mistake. Frankie Edgar risked it and lost his title shot. But lucky for Frankie Edgar, his legacy's already set. Brian Ortega's trying to set his right now. And so he's being a businessman, but at the same time trying to, he's being a businessman by protecting his future in the sport and his title shot. But also, he's never had this opportunity. So I can't blame him too much. And this is what I was saying about you have to let the fighters use this excuse if you let the company use it. Whenever Brock Lesnar comes back and he's going to be getting a title shot, whenever CM Punk's on the pay-per-view, what do they tell you? It's because he sells that many more pay-per-views. So it's a business decision. Whenever you make as much money as this guy, you can talk. Why can't Brian Ortega say that? Whenever they pay me the exact same amount of money to fight Jeremy Stephens, then we'll talk. You know, maybe he would have did it then. I mean, if Jeremy Stephens was the champion, I don't think Brian Ortega turns the fight down. Do you think if right now Max Holloway wasn't the champion, take Max Holloway out the equation, Jeremy Stephens right now, UFC featherweight champion, Brian Ortega, #1 contender, time for a title shot, do you guys think Brian Ortega doesn't take the fight? No. It's not like he's scared of him. He just wants his title shot that he already earned. So with that being said, I see where some people are coming from when they're pissed off at Brian Ortega, because And especially hindsight being 2020, it might piss you off even more, because that would have been our co-main event. We could have been looking at we could have had, on top of everything that happened, and that night was so crazy, honestly, we didn't need it. We were just being spoiled. But we could have had a real co-main event, boys and girls. We seen the shit show that turned out to be the co-main event now. Ngannou versus Lewis. We would have had Brian Ortega versus Jeremy Stevens as the co-main event. That would have been more fireworks. But with that being said, that's kind of not looking at it from Brian Ortega's perspective, and that's kind of where a lot of the fans come from, because you're not Brian Ortega, so why would you? So a lot of people don't agree with his decision, but I would just say, if I was trying to feed my family, put food on my family's table, protect my future, and it depends on if the UFC is not giving you the same amount of money, you got to turn the fight down. He said, and this is what he said: I'm a businessman, I'm a company man, but I'm no yes man. Watching the fights last night, knowing I could have been performing for all of you took a toll on me, but I stand by my decision. And so, I mean, I hear what he's saying. Would I have liked a different co-main event? Yeah, we all would have. We would have traded any fight for that co-main event, knowing how it played out. But if you think about the whole rest of the card, Mike Perry versus Paul Felder, Anthony Pettis triangle armbar, everything else that happened that night, and the potential of Lewis versus Ngannou, we were kind of spoiled. Yeah, we could have got this fight too, but I mean, at the same time, if you're Brian Ortega, you're probably doing the same thing. And if it was your brother or someone you were looking out for, if you were on their team, you would probably tell them to do the same thing, you know. And it's the bigger opportunity. The same thing whenever CM Punk's on the pay-per-view. It's a bigger opportunity for the UFC to sell pay-per-view. So I kind of see where Brian Ortega's coming from, but at the same time, of course, I would have liked a different co-main event, hindsight being 2020. But Brian Ortega, man, he's doubling down on that decision. So it is what it is. Anthony Pettis talking about his win over Michael Chiesa, and a little bit about the bullshit, you know, not meaning crap. He said, I'm about one impressive win away from a title shot. Rankings don't mean crap. And he's definitely right. Anthony Pettis sounds like he knows what the fuck's going on. He's right. He's right. For sure. Especially another impressive win like that. If he fucking got an impressive KO, he's getting a title shot. You crazy? We already seen it happen. He went down to fucking featherweight and got a title shot after one win, right? Versus Max Holloway. Missed weight in that featherweight title fight versus Max Holloway, first time he was ever finished. But Anthony Pettis is still a little bit of a big deal, if you know what I'm saying. Still some Wheatie boxes somewhere in somebody's room right now. Probably not listening to this show because we're too small. But Pettis was on a Wheaties box. He's a big deal, man. He's got a big name in the sport. Now, he's lost some fights, but he's lost to the best fighters in the world, especially as of late. Dustin Poirier is a guy that could be fighting for the lightweight title tomorrow if it wasn't a logjam. Max Holloway is a guy that's on a 12-13 fight winning streak at featherweight champion. That's who he lost to. So, with that impressive win he got over Chiesa, triangle armbar, one more impressive win, he for sure could be getting a title shot just off his popularity, because that's kind of what this is, right? If you're popular, you sell a lot of tickets, you can get an opportunity. And that's what he does and what he has. Now, where he might have a problem is the division that he's in. He's in the lightweight division. You would have to, you know, motherfucking be able to move a mountain to get this lightweight division moving right now. You got Conor McGregor and Khabib up there on, I don't want to say they're on hiatus, but it almost feels like that. I mean, and I say that because Khabib, he doesn't fight through Ramadan, even though some fighters do. We saw with Bilal Muhammad not too recently. He actually won a fight through Ramadan, but Khabib doesn't do that, and you can't blame him. Some people do, but I'm not going to. It's religion. So he doesn't fight through Ramadan, so he's not going to be back until the end of the year. Conor McGregor spending his money. I guess that's, I mean, what we're going with. Also going through his court situation, of course, after attacking the bus. Now that's also going on. He's got his legal situation going through. But meanwhile, man, the lightweight division is jammed up. And we thought it was jammed up with Conor. Now it's not doing too much better with Khabib here, because he's still kind of waiting on Conor, and he's not really waiting on Conor. Khabib did say he'll fight somebody if Conor's not ready, right? And we've heard rumors that if Conor can't get his shit together, Ferguson might get the fight. We've got Poirier and Alvarez fighting. They're both making their case for a title shot. So there's other options, But ideally, it would be Conor McGregor versus Khabib. And with that being said, it's not going to be toward the end of the year, so there's a lot of shit going on at the top of the lightweight division. So I don't really see Pettis even being as popular as he is. Like, he could for sure move up the rankings faster than a lot of people. But he's going to have to beat one, if not two of those guys. And I'm talking about Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier, or Eddie Alvarez. He already fought Poirier. But for him to get a title shot, he'd probably have to get a good win over Tony Ferguson. And to get to that fight, he might need one more. So, but I definitely hear what he's saying if you're talking about, you know, where the sport is. Anthony Pettis is one of the bigger names. Rankings don't mean crap, he's saying. They don't. Motherfuckers move up and down the rankings all the time, you know. Mackenzie Dern, I believe she fought an unranked fighter in her last fight, and she took somebody's spot in the rankings. I remember Angela Hill was pretty upset about losing her spot in the rankings to Mackenzie Dern, even though, like, she wasn't fighting a ranked fighter or something like that. So, you know how the rankings go. And Pettis, fortunately for him, it works out in his favor because he is one of the more popular fighters. So he gets to use that to his advantage. It's not a bad thing for him. The fact that the rankings don't mean crap actually works to his advantage. Like, motherfucker, I lose 2 fights in a row, but I'm motherfucking Showtime Pettis. Give me a kick off the octagon and a triangle armbar, and I'm right back in it like Bennett. You know what I'm saying? So, congratulations to Pettis on that win, man. That was a super impressive win. Can't wait to see his next fight. Much needed win for Pettis. You know, a lot of people were starting to count him out of there. But, hey, it is what it is, man. Pettis got that W. Looking forward to his next fight. I would like to see, I mean, and I don't know, just because he beat Chiesa, I'm not going to say he's a fucking world beater now, but he's still a former champion, and all of his fights are going to be at least, they're always going to be contentious. He's always going to be in there. I would like to see Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis, honestly. That'd be a fun fight. And if Pettis is trying to get to that title shot, then that might be what he needs to do, try and get a fight with Ferguson. Because we already got Poirier and Alvarez scrapping it out. But, yeah, that'd be a fun fight, Pettis versus Ferguson. Either way, Volkan Ozdemir got his charges dropped in that felony battery case, which in my mind means somebody was asking for an ass whooping at that bar or wherever they were at. Because if you're a professional fighter and you get charged with professional battery and you get your charges dropped, clearly a motherfucker was asking for an ass whooping because you usually don't get that leeway. You know, if you're the aggressor in a situation, you're probably going to get charged. Like, oh, yeah, you're just an MMA fighter out here beating up civilians. You're getting fucking charged. You knocked him out for how long? Yeah, fuck out of here. But when you're found in self-defense, it's like, hey, this motherfucker came up, threw a glass at my head, pushed me. I still told him, don't fuck with me. I'm in the UFC. I usually don't say that, but you sound like you want me to fuck you up. I gave him all the chances. We got witnesses. We got the fucking bartender. We got the security. Everyone saw me giving this motherfucker a pass when he was belligerent. But now that he's asleep for fucking 180 seconds or however long, now y'all got me hemmed up in this bullshit. But clearly he got it seems like he was in the right. His charges were dropped in this case, which is good for Ozdemir. He's going to be fighting in a #1 contender fight with Alexander Gustafsson. Likely a #1 contender fight. We got Daniel Cormier's the champ. He talked about Shogun for a split second, but either way, this is the #1 and the #2 contender fighting at UFC 227. Volkan Ozdemir's in the fight, and so it's a good thing he don't have to deal with none of this shit anymore. It says the UFC light heavyweight contender had charges against him dismissed Monday in his felony battery case in Broward County, Florida. His lawyer Bruce Zimet told MMA Fighting in a statement, the information was confirmed by spokesperson Christy Grimm from the state attorney's office. The case has been ruled null prosequi, which means the prosecution will no longer pursue the charge. Grimm said the charges were dropped due to lack of cooperation from the victim. Sounded like the victim didn't want any smoke. It says Ozdemir's trial was set to start Monday for the third-degree felony charge. He was being accused of striking and knocking a man outside of Fort Lauderdale bar in August 2017. The Switzerland native who trains out of Combat Club in Latana, Florida, was arrested in November. So yeah, there's the details of that you can see, but something he's not going to have to deal with anymore. And the witness didn't cooperate, so maybe they had it on their conscience. Like, yeah, I kind of asked for that. Either that or who knows what happened. But the witness didn't cooperate, and so with that being said, Volkan Ozdemir's charges are dropped. They're not pursuing it anymore, so Volkan Ozdemir, that's one less thing he has to deal with leading up to his fight, which is a good thing. Less distractions. With that being said, Corey Anderson replacing Ilir Latifi meets Glover Teixeira at UFC Hamburg. UFC Hamburg was taking a hit. Not only did they lose Volkan Ozdemir, but they also lost Ilir Latifi. I was looking forward to both of them fighting. I can't. Ilir Latifi looked great in his last fight versus OSP. I want to see his next fight. But he was injured out of his fight with Glover Teixeira. So now we're going to be seeing Corey Anderson versus Glover Teixeira at UFC Hamburg. That's going to be a dope light heavyweight fight for sure, stepping in there. Either way, let's check out the chat before we get out of here for the day. Thanks, everybody, for coming through. Dan from Oregon said UFC lawyer successfully hushed the alleged victim. Well done, sleazy lawyers. I know that shit didn't sound right? Like, no victim cooperation. You know, like maybe he got paid off, right? Or something like that. Who knows? Paid off. Maybe his conscience got to him. Hey, I started that shit. Maybe I shouldn't have threw a fucking beer at a professional fighter. Who knows what he did? We don't know what happened. We don't know the details. So, but yeah, man, no witness cooperation. I hear what you're saying. Seismic Shock said envelope. We got that envelope. That Vulcan envelope, says Seismic Shock. Gave him an envelope. You know what? He saw nothing. You know how that goes. David MC said DC too cocky. DC isn't even top 10 cockiest fighters in the UFC, and he's done more to justify outright arrogance than damn near anybody. Yeah, for sure. DC, I mean, he's a guy that if he were to be cocky, he's got the reason, but he's still not one of the most cocky dudes. Like Stamina MC, he made a great point. Clayton Funky says, Stamina, I know, just like I like nerdy DC better. That weird guy said, peace, fam. Seismic Shock said, cheers, bro. Yeah, man, we're going to get out of here for the day. Been working. I had another 10-hour shift this morning, but it is what it is, man. We'll be back tomorrow, live, same time, same place. Thanks to everybody who came through and chilled today with your boy. Tomorrow's Tuesday, and we're back at it like a crack addict. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. We out.